What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday. Today is a special podcast because it is a Sunday podcast, right? So we've got a lot of exciting expressions and phrases for you. My name's Mike. I am your host of this podcast. The podcast, I believe, is called Learn English with Mike. So, pretty self-explanatory. Anyway, I hope everyone's having a wonderful day out there. If this is your first time listening, I'm going to be going over phrasal verbs and expressions that I've encountered this week. A lot of them are pulled from my Instagram account. That profile is learn.english.expressions. So if you're not following me there, I encourage you to go and check it out. It'll help a lot with the expressions and phrases I'm going to talk about because I have posts on there explaining them, and it will really complement this material very well, this podcast here. Also, I post videos on a YouTube channel. That YouTube channel is Learn English with Mike, just like the podcast. And that is also a good resource. I try to upload pretty much most of the content that I upload on Instagram onto YouTube and vice versa, but sometimes it's a little bit of a hassle trying to convert the videos, so I'm not super consistent. I'm most active on Instagram because that's the easiest spot to post quick tips. As I hear expressions and phrasal verbs, I can post them right away instead of thinking, how am I going to put together a video and post it on YouTube? Instagram allows, that instant satisfaction, hence the name Instagram. Anyway, I encourage you to check that page out on Instagram. And I'm super excited because Instagram has a new feature on there that is Reels, and it allows you to kind of do more of a like TikTok style video and edit the video a little bit more instead of having to do that in a different app and then loading it on Instagram. So it should add a little more versatility to the posts and to the lessons. I think Instagram's trying to give TikTok a run for their money, right? If you don't know that expression, when somebody's giving someone a run for their money, means like they're competing at the same level as the other person, or they're trying to match that person's competition. You give them a run for their money, right? Because they might lose money theoretically, right? It's like if you're betting on something and somebody competes with you and you guys bet like I could win this race if we raced each other, and then we raced and the winner got money. You're giving someone a run for their money, basically. That's the way I think of it anyway. It might not be the actual origin, but that kind of gets the idea across, right? You're seeing how well this person can compete, or you're being competitive against that person. So there's one expression already. So we're going to go ahead and look at some of the stuff that I posted on Instagram. I've been trying to clean out my phone a little bit and delete some old videos. So I've been uploading a few older videos that I recorded a while ago that I never had a chance to end up uploading, or I never had a chance to edit them and cut out all the mistakes. So I have a few of those videos that I've posted on Instagram and on YouTube, just real quick explanations of certain phrases. One of them was to go out of your way for someone. So I posted a little English quiz for my followers, my loyal followers, those who I call expressioners, those diehard followers. So I posted a little quiz for everyone if they knew what it meant to go out of your way for someone. Most everybody seems to understand this idea. I thought maybe it was a little bit confusing because of the vocabulary of the expression, but basically the idea of going out of your way for someone is you're doing somebody a favor and it's not entirely convenient for you, right? So you are going out of your way for them. So on the video, I added a little sticker of a detour and a car swerving just to give you a visualization of kind of having to take a detour from maybe what your original plans were to help somebody else out. So you're going out of your way for that person. So that's what it means to go out of your way for someone, or to go out of your way to do something. I went out of my way to get the peaches that my friend likes, so he would eat some of the fruit salad that I was making at this party. So that's what it means to go out of your way for somebody, or to go out of your way to do something. The next one, this was also an older video that I just recently posted. This was, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So this is like a proverb. So I think it's probably been translated in several different languages, or it probably was translated into English and its origins are from another language. But basically, what this one means is that you can't have the best of both outcomes, or you can't have the best of all outcomes, right? So you can't have your cake and eat it too. And this simply means, if you have your cake, you have your cake. Once you eat your cake, you no longer have your cake. So you can't have both, right? You can't have the best of all outcomes. So an example would be like, if you needed to choose between accepting a job offer and you had 2 job offers, and you really wanted to take both of them, but you can't, somebody might tell you, yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to pick one or the other. Both jobs have some pros, both jobs have some cons. So, you wish that one job just had all of the pros, all of the positives. And unfortunately, it usually doesn't work out that way. So somebody might say, yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It just means, yeah, you're not going to have a perfect situation, right? You're not going to have the best of all outcomes. So that's a very common phrase that people will use to kind of add a philosophical, profound thought to your circumstances. All right, moving on now, let's look at another phrase here. This phrase I took from the Modest Mouse song Float On, where he says, I ran my mouth off a bit too much. Oh, what did I say? So to run your mouth is a pretty good phrase that we use during competitions or when there's some sort of rivalry, right? So if I'm competing against somebody and that person starts saying, oh man, you can't play very well. Like say it's the game of basketball and I'm playing one-on-one, right? Me versus one other person. And that person starts saying, man, you're so terrible. I'm going to beat you so bad. You play basketball worse than my 90-year-old grandmother, that sort of stuff, I'm going to say, hey, keep running your mouth. Let's just play the game, Stop running your mouth and let's play. Keep running your mouth. Watch what happens. But that's called running your mouth. It's also called trash talking, right? But people will say, oh, this person was running his mouth, and, it led to something bad. Usually when you're running your mouth, it doesn't end up good. So that's the phrase there. Hey, quit running your mouth. Like if somebody's insulting you or criticizing you, you say, hey, quit running your mouth, man. So that's what it means to run your mouth. Like you just basically take off the filters and let it go, right? And then we have another phrase that's from that same song, right after that line where he says, I ran my mouth off a bit too much. Oh, what did I say? He says, well, you just laughed it off. Sometimes life's all okay, or something like that. I think I just butchered it. I screwed up the line. But anyway, the main point is there's another phrasal verb that we use where we say to laugh something off. And when you laugh something off, it means you don't take it very serious. You don't take it personal. So when somebody's running their mouth, if you just laugh it off, you've got a good sense of humor. That means you're not paying too much attention to it. You're not letting it bother you, right? So, think of a situation where somebody is maybe trying to make you feel uncomfortable or embarrass you, and you have a good sense of humor about it, and you do what we call a laugh it off. You just laugh it off. Okay, whatever, man. You laugh it off. You're not paying much attention to it, or you don't let it bother you. You laugh it off. So that's what it means to laugh something off. Moving on to another phrase. This is one that is pretty self-explanatory that I just took a moment to highlight there on Instagram. And it was to be bored out of your mind. I think I heard it in a song and wanted to share it. But one of the followers, who I'm now calling an expressioner, right? A diehard follower is an expressioner because they love English expressions so much. They wrote on the comments, I'm bored to death. That's another way we can say it. So when you're really bored, you want to be a little more dramatic, exaggerate a little bit about how bored you are. You can say, oh, I'm bored out of my mind. Or you could say, oh, I'm bored to death. So you can refer to like a class. If you are bored during this podcast, you could say, oh, geez, I listened to Mike's Learn English with Mike podcast, and God, I was bored out of my mind. Or maybe you're listening to this podcast because you're bored out of your mind, or you're bored to death and you're looking for something to do, something to listen to. So that's what it means to be bored out of your mind. Pretty self-explanatory, but it's a good phrase to try and work into your vernacular, to work into your speaking when you're speaking in English. Another phrase that I wanted to focus on was to be off the hook. So to be off the hook has actually a few different meanings, and really I really want to do a whole lesson on this word hook, because we have phrasal verbs like hook up, or to be hooked on, like when you're addicted to something. But we're going to focus just right now on being off the hook. So this actually in like slang, like in a lot of rap music, they'll say something is off the hook when it's really cool, right? Oh, this party was off the hook. This song's off the hook. Oh, that English lesson was off the hook, right? It was really cool. Also, another version of this could be it's off the chains. It's off the chains. Okay, sorry I took a brief pause there. My friends were calling on FaceTime, and it interrupted the recording, and so now I just have to pick up where I left off, unfortunately. So sorry about that. Hopefully it's somewhat seamless from your perspective while you're listening to it. I know, total amateur hour here. That's a phrase that we use when somebody is not very professional or is making a lot of mistakes. You hear people, it's like a joke in English, you'll hear people be like, amateur hour over here. It's like, this person doesn't know what he's doing. So hopefully you're learning enough English where you can forgive my technical mistakes. But anyway, I was talking before I got cut off about the phrase to be off the hook. And we use it to talk about something that was cool, that was off the hook. And also like that was off the chains. It's kind of just this idea of being unrestrained, right? And it was crazy. It was awesome. It was off the hook. It was off the chains, man. But again, this is a phrase that's kind of, more common. You'll hear it in like rap music, or pop music. So it's probably not something you would say to like an older person. You probably wouldn't talk like that, or that you wouldn't hear an older person say it, like somebody, who grew up in, I don't know, a different time period, that like before hip hop music was a big thing or anything. So I'm trying very careful not to say what I think is an older person, at what age that would be, because I don't want to offend anybody out there. I only have maybe 12 listeners. Don't want to offend any of you. But anyway, I'm getting old anyway too. So, those are the breaks in life. But anyway, going back to this idea of being off the hook. So that's one way we can use it. And then another way we can use it is when you are relieved from a commitment, right? So that probably sounds a little bit hard to comprehend, but basically what it means is that maybe you were obligated to do something and you don't have to do it anymore. And so we could say you're off the hook. You no longer are committed to that. So in this idea, think of a hook like a fish hook or something. It's got you stuck and you're being pulled in to do this commitment against your will. You're on a hook, right? But then when you are relieved from that commitment, you no longer have to do it. You are off the hook. So, for example, let's say I'm a teenager and my little brother needs a ride to a party he's going to, and my mom says I'm the only one who can take him, or I have to take him because she's busy. And so I'm, oh man, I have to do that. But then the party gets canceled and my mom says, okay, it looks like you're off the hook, Mike. It means you're no longer responsible. You're no longer committed. And another way we can use this is if you are getting in trouble. If you did something and you got in trouble, or you were accused of something and it looks like you are the prime suspect who committed some sort of crime or did something that you weren't supposed to do, but then new evidence comes out that shows that you actually were not the person who committed the crime or broke the rule or whatever, then that new evidence would mean you're off the hook, right? So we might say, it turns out they have a video of the guy who stole the candy, so you're off the hook. Means you're not in trouble anymore. You got away with it, or didn't get away with it, but you are no longer the prime suspect because we have new evidence. So that's a way to use the phrase off the hook. Very common, and I think it is one that is a little bit difficult to translate. I know when I think of trying to express this idea in Spanish, I stumble quite a bit because I don't quite know how you would say it. I would probably use like, it's not your fault, no, es tu culpa, or, no, lo tienes que hacer más, cambiar de idea, cambiar de plan. I don't know, they change their mind. But yeah, it's a difficult one to say without feeling like I'm saying something like, well, this obligation is not yours anymore. No tienes la obligación más. But yeah, I don't know a cool phrase to use in Spanish. So that's a cool phrase in English that you can use if you were wondering. All right, so let's go ahead and move on here. I think I'm going to wrap things up in a little bit, but I want to go over a few more expressions and phrases. This next one was, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I think that was from an Outkast song that I got it from. And they say it in a little bit of a different way, but basically this is a way that you will present bad news to somebody. So, for example, if you're talking about going and doing something outside, and your contingency is that if it's not raining, you'll go out and do it. And you're like, and it's not supposed to rain today, so I'm going to go do this activity that I was planning on doing outside. Then I might say, well, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I just looked outside and it's raining, or I just looked. Oh my gosh, total amateur hour here. Sorry, it cut off again. My friends are really desperately trying to get me on a FaceTime call. No, it's a lie. I don't have any friends. I am just really bad with technology. Just kidding. But anyway, sorry about this. I know that I think when I upload it on AnchorFM, it'll probably separate the different recordings, the different podcast segments. But I'll try and upload it on YouTube and put it all together so it's easier to listen to it all at once without it being broken up. So let me go ahead and continue from where I left off. The phrase was, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. And this is a phrase that we use when we are presenting bad news to somebody, or we're trying to be funny, like if there's bad news, or if somebody's being overly optimistic and you want to bring them back to reality, you might say, well, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but they actually gave your job to somebody else, or the position that you wanted, the promotion that you wanted at work, it was just given to Samantha. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but looks like you're not going to get it. That's just an example. So you can give real bad news and use this phrase to kind of preface it, to kind of make it seem a little lighter, or maybe not, hit somebody so hard. And you can also use this phrase to kind of be a little bit of a smart aleck and kind of, be a little mischievous. That's a word that I always have difficulty saying in English because we learn it as mischievous, but I think it's actually supposed to be pronounced mischievous. Somebody corrected me on this. But anyway, I digress. Back to what I was talking about. Don't want to derail too much on that tangent, but this phrase, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, you can use it when you're kind of trying to be a smart aleck or trying to give somebody a reality check. Next phrase is a real quick one, pretty please. This is just a way to kind of make the word please fancier or make it sound sweeter when you're asking somebody something and they say no, and then you say please, pretty please. It's like, it just sounds nice because of the double P alliteration. But it's like, oh, please, pretty please, I'll be your best friend. That's the way we beg in English, right? You make kind of outlandish promises. All right, next one here, to run something by someone. So this phrase is a phrase that we use when we talk about getting permission. And I don't even think I've made a post on this yet. I just heard it in a podcast I was listening to and thought it'd be a good one to share. But when you have to run something by somebody, it means like you have to share that information with this person who is a decider and get their permission. So let me give you a little example so you have a good idea of how it works. For example, if your kids are asking you, if they can go play at their friend's house, and you say, well, I need to run it by your mother. Or if you are a mom, well, I need to run it by your father, or I need to run it by somebody to make sure that it's okay with that person. I need to get their permission. So you're running the information by that person. You're providing that person with the information and asking that person for permission. And you can use this at work too, right? A lot of things that you do at work, before you can actually do them, you need to run it by the boss, right? You need to get permission from the boss before you can do something. So if you are trying to give a customer a discount, You might have to say, hey, I think I can get you $10 off of this item. I just need to run it by the boss, tell him about your situation, and I'm sure he'll be cool with it, but let me just go run it by the boss real quick. Means I need to get this person's permission or approval. So to run it by someone. All right. Next one was this phrase, to get a bite to eat. That's just a kind of an interesting way that we talk about getting food, having a meal. If I'm at work, I might say, hey, I'm going to go grab a bite to eat real quick. Can you make sure to cover me while I'm on my break? I'm going to sit down and have a bite to eat, or I'm going to grab a bite. That's like if I'm being very casual with my friends. I'm going to grab a bite to eat. I'm going to grab a bite. I shorten by saying, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get that. I'm going to get, or I do kind of this, when I'm talking fast, I'll say, I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to get a bite to eat. I'm going to have some lunch. It's just like kind of just this exhalation of 4 or 5 words all at once. Instead of I'm going to. So to get a bite to eat, that's the phrase we're focused on here. But grab a bite or get a bite. The word grab is like to pick up, and a bite is, one interval of chewing food. I don't know how to describe a bite, but we use it to talk about having a whole meal, get a bite to eat. All right, next one here is, to go on. So the phrasal verb to go on, you might know this, it might be pretty obvious. I think that it's a little bit difficult maybe for students, but this was from a Ja Rule and Jennifer Lopez song where the chorus, he says, and I can't go on without you. That's my Ja Rule impression. And my terrible singing all put together. But anyway, he says, I can't go on without you. And if somebody says, I can't go on without you, it means that they can't live without you, right? They can't continue living without you. So that's one way we'll say, oh, I couldn't go on if this was the scenario. I couldn't live with myself. I couldn't go on. I can't go on without this person. I can't continue living. And also we'll use it while somebody's talking. Maybe they pause, or they're waiting for you to respond, but you want them to keep talking. You can say, no, go on. It's like continue what you were saying. So we'll say go on. All right. And the next one, to wear someone out. This was from the song Livin' La Vida Loca, right? He says, she will wear you out. Again, excuse my inability to sing. But anyway, when someone wears you out, it means they'll make you exhausted. So when he says that in the song, he's saying that this person will drive you wild, they'll wear you out, they'll make you exhausted, because how crazy and beautiful and full of life this person is, and maybe they're attracting the attention of all these other guys, so it's gonna wear you out, it's gonna exhaust you. So that's the idea of somebody wearing you out. And we also talk about our clothes. When you have clothes that are no longer in good condition, we say, my clothes are worn out, right? I have a worn out shirt on. I have a worn out pair of jeans that has a bunch of holes in it. I need to get a new pair. That is what it is when something is worn out. So there's 2 ways. One is to exhaust somebody, and the other is to deteriorate in condition. All right. And the last one here was a phrase from a song. I'm not even sure what song it was, but it was to be in the trenches. So this is a military expression when you're fighting in a battle, in a war. There's like little holes in the ground where you can kind of hide and take cover. One of the words for those holes is trenches. So when you're in the trenches, it's usually referring to being in a difficult situation or struggling to succeed, right? So if I'm at work and I'm way behind, or I'm working a customer service job and there's a lot of phone calls and stuff, I could say I'm in the trenches right now. I'm in the trenches. I'm having a hard time keeping up. I'm struggling to succeed, so I'm in the trenches. So when somebody's in the trenches, they're kind of down. They're not doing well. They're not having a lot of success. Or they're in a difficult situation. So you can be in the trenches, just like if a soldier is in a trench, they're probably taking fire from the enemy, and they're probably struggling. You're in the trenches. You're not in a favorable situation. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I think with the podcast being cut off a couple times, I ended up kind of going on for a little bit too long and probably repeated myself one too many times. But anyway, thanks again for listening. Thanks for your support. I hope you enjoyed the topics today and the expressions and phrasal verbs. Please send me a message on Instagram. That account is learn.english.expressions. Or you can send me a voice message on AnchorFM as well. I'm still trying to get that going so we can have some diversity in voices, right? Instead of just my monotone voice going on. Anyway, thanks again for listening. Let me know if you have any questions. Keep studying and keep learning, and we will see you in the next podcast. Have a great rest of your day.